What is going on, everyone? We are back to talk about MEPS Day 2 for the medical. So I am going to walk you guys through what I experienced here in San Antonio for processing through MEPS for the medical. I'll try to go into as much detail as possible. I know that a lot of folks have a lot of questions in regards to how that process goes and essentially what can get you DQ'd. So I'm just going to go through my experience and give you some tips on how to not get disqualified just from what I observed while I was there. So for me, this process was a little bit different. So because I live close to the San Antonio MEPS, only about a 20-minute drive away, I was given instructions by my recruiter to actually go meet everybody at the hotel at 4 a.m. in the morning. So the hotel is about a 10-minute drive from Fort Sam Houston, so got my documentation. So I had my social security card, my request for medical, my I don't know why I can't think of what it's called, but basically your request for medical form that you get from your recruiter, and my driver's license. And then I also brought with me my contact lens and glasses prescription. That was also on the paperwork, so I decided just to bring it just in case there was any issues. I really didn't want to have to come back to MEPS. I just wanted to process through and be done with this process so that I could move on. So get up at about 2:30 in the morning, get dressed. There is a specific dress code that they do require. Also for females, no nail polish, so or acrylic nails, so make sure you remove that on your hands and toes. They also don't want you wearing a sports bra, so they just want a regular bra on. And then for underwear, they say conservative, so that they don't want the boy shorts, they don't want thong underwear or G-string, so just regular normal bikini underwear, because you are going to be stripping down to your undergarments at some point during the day. So I just wore a nice polo shirt, I wore jeans, and they want you to wear tennis shoes, so no open-toed shoes. So go meet at the hotel. This was a great start to my morning. I get to the hotel. They direct me to where everybody is kind of meeting up for traveling to MEPS. I go to check in like I'm told, and the guy tells me, you can't process with this group because you didn't stay at the hotel. So his suggestion was just go straight to MEPS. And I was like, okay. So I leave. I get to MEPS super early, way before they even opened. Just kind of waited in my vehicle, made sure I was good to go, drank a ton of water because you want to make sure that when you do your UA that you can actually go to the bathroom. Otherwise you're going to have to sit there and wait even longer. So I go ring the bell, say I'm there for my medical at about 5 a.m. and they tell me to go line up behind the building. Again, okay, that's a little weird, but whatever. So go line up behind the building, and they're waiting. It's because that is where the buses drop everybody off. So a couple more people show up that drove themselves. Then multiple buses show up, tons of people. So they have us go inside before we process through security and line up. And I'm thinking, oh my God, there's so many people here. This is probably going to be the longest day ever. So I line everybody up against the wall. They go through making sure you don't have any weapons on you. Make sure that you're wearing undergarments, because apparently they've had people show up not wearing any undergarments. They give the dress code, and they tell you what you need to do once you process through security. So after they do the briefing, then they ask everybody that is shipping out that day to go into a room that's on the left-hand side of the corridor. So thank goodness, 3/4 of the people that were there were shipping out that day. So we were left with, I think it was 11 females and probably about 30 males. Process through security, go through the metal detector, and then I was at the very front of the line because I wanted to just get in there and get out as quickly as possible because I knew it was going to be a long day. Process through security, Then they tell you to go upstairs and check in with the control desk and then go check in with your branch office. So check in with the control desk, go to my branch office, I get my name tag again, and then I go straight upstairs to the 3rd floor and check in with the nurses there. So they print off a piece of paper that has everything on it. So your vision, where they record your vision, your hearing, pretty much everything. So I get my paperwork and then they tell me go straight to vision. So they have everything set up as multiple stations. So luckily you're not having to really sit and wait. Once you process through a station, then they'll tell you to go someplace else. And so then you just hit all of your stations until they want the group back together for the medical briefing. So I go to vision because I was Air Force. They had us do regular vision, color, and then they do a where you have to look at the 3-dimensional for your depth perception. So did all of that. Then they had a lady there waiting and ready to do blood pressure. So I sat and took my blood pressure, and then they sent me over to hearing. So I wasn't too concerned going into MEPS for anything because I just don't really have a whole lot wrong with me. I mean, okay, I am 37. You would think there'd be something, but I didn't have a whole lot of medical history. However, I was a little concerned about failing the hearing, and that is because I currently work in aerospace. I've been working in aerospace for, over 10 years, and I have not been the best about wearing hearing protection. So those of you who are young, please wear your hearing protection. So my hearing is not as good as I thought it would be. And that's just from jet engines, and I do a lot of hunting and I don't wear hearing protection, so shame on me, and I will do better. But so I go do the hearing test, a little concerned. I get my results, and take note of this. I asked the gentleman there, hey, what does this mean? Because I had 5s. I had 0, 5, and I had some 10s for each decibel level. And so it's been forever since I've taken a hearing test, and so I didn't know what they meant. And he just said, the closer you are to 0, the better. And then he walks off. So I'm thinking, oh my God, maybe I failed because I have a bunch of 10s and 5s. I knew 5s were probably okay. So on the back, they attach a receipt from your hearing test. And at the very bottom, it'll say either H1, H2, or H3. What I found out later, because mine said H1, H1 is pass. You're good. H3 is a DQ. So if your results at the bottom of anything say H3, DOD standard, whatever, the H3 is not good. That means that you failed whatever portion that was. So do my hearing test. I felt like I couldn't hear anything, but apparently I did okay. I passed. So I finished my hearing, and then they send me down to do height and weight measurement. So they have you leave your clothes on for that. So they do height and weight, they mark it down, and then they tell you to go back outside to the waiting room and give your paperwork to the front desk. So go give my paperwork to the front desk, and then they're sending everybody into just one big room that has a TV. So as they're funneling people in, they're having you take a breathalyzer. So for those of you that are old enough and want to have a beer the night before, I would highly recommend not doing it because they do have you do a breathalyzer. So I was also told that there is the possibility that if you use mouthwash that has alcohol in it, that you could essentially blow not straight zeros when they do the breathalyzer. So I did have a panic moment that morning because I was half asleep at 2:30 in the morning, used mouthwash, and then went, oh my God, now I'm not going to be able to pass the breathalyzer because it's going to show. Luckily, the mouthwash had no alcohol in it. Thank you to the husband for purchasing that. So they do the breathalyzer, and then they kind of separate you. They sent the males to one side of the room, the females to the other side, and then they come in and they just do a full briefing of the medical, of what is coming up, and that is going to be your UA, your blood draw, and on what to expect. And then they go straight into where you undress to your undergarments, and they have you do a series of tests. That's where your duck walk comes in, and just some other tests to see if you have the flexibility and everything is operating as normal, essentially. So they sat us in this room, briefed us. They showed us kind of a video that went over kind of what you're going to be doing. You gotta hop on one foot, hop on the other foot. You put your arms out like this and they press down on it. You gotta do this. There's some, just that kind of stuff. So they gave the briefing, and then they sent the females over to do the UA, which they do watch you while you urinate. So there was a couple folks that couldn't perform under pressure, I would say, and they had to go back and do it later. But you do your UA, and then they send you straight over for your blood draw. So blood draw happens, and then they funnel all of you into one room. So males go to a separate room, women go with the female nurse, and then they have you undress, and then they go through the exercises. So here is one thing. We did have a female in our group that said she was sore from working out and could not do the duck walk because it hurt. I would not ever say that. Just do it. If it hurts, just don't say anything. I would just try and get through the duck walk. So they told her because there was 3 exercises that she couldn't do, that she was going to have to come back and do it, or she could try and do it for the doctor when she goes in and has her one-on-one review with the doctor. So I will get back to that later with what happened with that lady. So do all the exercises. There's a ton of videos on here that tell you how to do the duck walk. Our nurse was great. She just had you go, it was maybe like 10 feet, and they just want you to go heel to toe. You could have your arms wherever, so if you needed to like kind of put your elbows on the inside of your knees to stabilize, that was fine. But really, just keep your core tight, and do it kind of slowly, and you'll be fine. So we do the duck walk, everything involved with that, and then they have us get dressed. Well, so she came through and looked at, your toes and your feet and made sure you didn't have athlete's foot, etc. And then they have you get dressed. So we all get dressed, and then they send us out to sit in the waiting room outside of the doctor's office. And then we have our kind of one-on-one with the doctor. So males sitting across from us for their doctor, and then there was about 11 of us females. And oh my God, I'm telling you, that was the longest part of the day, was waiting for the doctor. I don't know what these people were spilling in there, but mine only took 20 minutes, but everybody in front of me took forever. It was almost like an hour for each of these girls to go in and have their one-on-one with the doctor. So it gets to the point where they start trying to bring in more doctors to try and process us through quicker, which thank you, San Antonio MEPS, for doing that. Otherwise, we probably would have been stuck there all day. So they finally get to me. Doctor calls me in, and first thing she says to me is, "Oh, you're my 37-year-old. I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Here we go. So we sit down. She was fantastic. She was great doctor. She went through just kind of the paperwork. So here's my recommendation. Only admit to what you admitted to your recruiter and they put on the paperwork. Otherwise, you're going to be opening yourself up to a huge can of worms. So one of the females, the same one that said the duck walk hurt, She was the first one in, and she, for some reason, felt the need to spill a whole bunch of conditions to the doctor that wasn't on her form, and then told them that her recruiter told her to lie. So they pull her out and they make some phone calls to the recruiter. Anyway, she didn't process through that day, and she actually, I'm pretty positive that she DQ'd. So I would highly recommend do not admit to anything that is not on your paperwork. You should have already had this conversation with your recruiter, and you should already know exactly what is on your paperwork. So she starts going through my paperwork. I only had one thing, and that was I sprained my ankle last year pretty bad, but I had provided all the documentation for it before they had given me the approval to even go to MEPS. So she just wanted to review that, asked a couple more questions, how did you actually do it? It's not even a good story, but just went through a series of questions, and then she has you get undressed, and then they have you get on the table. They, for the Air Force, they do an extra test. They want to make sure that you can pop your eardrums, so they have you do that. They look in your ear while you, hold your breath and blow really hard while you hold your nose shut. And they actually watch your eardrums pop. So that is an extra thing specifically for the Air Force. And then they check everything. They have you open your mouth. They look at your teeth for about 5 seconds. They look at your feet. They look at your hands. For the women, they look at your breasts. They don't do any type of examination, hands-on or anything like that. They literally just have you lay on the table and you lift your bra up. And then same thing with underwear. So they have you pull aside, they take one quick look, and that's it. They also have you sit on the edge of the table and bend all the way over, and then, pull your buttocks apart. So, but that was it. It was pretty quick. And then they have you get dressed, and then they just kind of go through your paperwork once more, and they document any scars or tattoos. Obviously, I have I have quite a lot, so mine just got documented as full sleeves. And I didn't have any waivers, so there was nothing I had to do in regards to waiver paperwork. And then they tell you are good to go. Take your paperwork and go on back out to the control desk. So they will tell you that day if you pass or if you don't pass. There was a lot of folks there that were coming back just to specifically do like a vision test over again or the hearing over again. So they will communicate to you whether you passed or if you didn't pass. So because I passed, they had me go back out to the control desk and give them my paperwork. So they input all the paperwork, they processed me, and then they told me to go downstairs back to my branch office. So I go back down to the branch office, and they give me some paperwork, and they send me over to be fingerprinted, which I did, and then they tell me that I can go home. So this is only because I'm going in as Air National Guard. If you're going as active duty, then your MEPS visit will be a little different. After your medical is approved, then you will you'll do the same thing. You'll go to your branch office, you'll get fingerprinted, but you will also sign your paperwork, pick your job, and you'll swear in that day. So they had tons of groups of folks that were going in and swearing in that day. For me, because I'm Air National Guard, I actually, after I called my recruiter when I left, I went straight to her office over at Lackland and chose my job. So we finished up our paperwork there at her office, and they kind of went through the different jobs that I qualify for. There was one that they were holding for me, which I knew that I wanted, but at least she was able to give me pretty much everything that I qualified for. So I did choose for my AFSC a 2 Alpha 3X3, so I will be a dedicated crew chief for F-16s. So I'm really excited about that because most of my experience is with heavy aircraft. So fighters will be a little different. So we processed the paperwork. I chose my job. She input that I'll be going in as a E3, so that'll be an Airman First Class, and that's because I have college credits. So really cool that I'll be able to go in with some stripes instead of just being slick sleeves coming out of basic training. And then I will go back on the 30th or the 31st. I don't have a specific date yet, but I will go swear in actually at the recruiting office. So my process looks a little different than those that would be active duty. So active duty, you get all that taken care of while you're at MEPS. So you may even get your ship out date. I don't know. But I know that after you enlist is when, at least for me, after I enlist, then I will get my ship out date. So MEPS, I was super stressed out about it. I thought, oh my God, they're going to find something, because everybody told me MEPS is where your dreams go to die. And I thought for sure they're going to find something stupid for some reason to go ahead and DQ me from service, just because that seems to be what happens. But overall, it was actually a great experience. I have seen a lot of people post videos saying that the MEPS team, the employees at whichever MEPS they went to, were very rude, were yelling at people, that, you know, it was similar to a basic training environment. I have to give a big shout out to the San Antonio MEPS, because they were absolutely incredible. These were some of the nicest people that you would ever meet. You know, they were very helpful. They answered a bunch of questions. They just wanted you to get processed through. They were just, it was great. Maybe that's because I'm older, but they were fantastic. So, overall, good experience. Long day. They did say that you could bring a water bottle with you, so that was the only thing that, you know, for me, I probably should have done that, and then I wouldn't have been having to hold it, hoping to get a UA at some point during the day for like 4 hours. So I was pretty miserable for the first part, and then very dehydrated by the end. So I would highly recommend bringing a water bottle. So, but also, all your paperwork, you have to be able to keep it in your pocket. So just make sure it's in like a little envelope or something that you're not going to lose, and you know that it fits into your back pocket or your front pocket, and then you can just carry your water bottle. So, but overall, it was great. So that was my experience with MEPS. I've heard some horror stories, but the biggest thing that I will tell you is do not admit to anything that is not on your paperwork. So they try and scare you. They say that, you know, if you didn't put something on your paperwork, you need to admit to it that day. But if it's not on your paperwork, don't admit to it. So I will also say, though, that there was folks, when we went in for a medical briefing, they said if your name tag has a red star on it, it means that there was documentation in your background that they found in the system that those folks did not put on their paperwork, so it was conflicting. I would not want to be one of those people, to be honest. That just looks like you straight up lied before you went to MEPS. And I saw a couple of those folks not get to process through MEPS that day after they met with the doctor. So just make sure, since they can see prescriptions that were filled, that you know, if you had an emergency room visit for something stupid that you got a prescription for and you have documentation for it, just submit the documentation. Have your recruiter submit that documentation when they do the pre-look at your medical paperwork before they give you the MEPS approval. So I hope that this video helps. I had a lot of questions, and I was so worried when I went to MEPS. And so big shout out to the folks that already did videos on their MEPS experience, because it helped me out tremendously. So, and I got lucky. I didn't have to stay at the MEPS hotel, and I could go home each night. So if you live close to MEPS, then it is actually a much better experience, because you don't have to deal with a roommate at a hotel, and you can go home every single night and you can leave immediately after. So, if you do live close and you do not have a CAT card that can get you on base, then your recruiter should be either transporting you or giving you some type of transportation to get you to and from MEPS. So I've heard of folks being stranded there too, so make sure you ask before your MEPS appointment of how you're getting to and from base. So, all right, that's all I have on MEPS. So good luck to everybody. If you're scheduled to go to MEPS, you'll do fine. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I will answer every single one of them to the best of my ability. I can also link below the actual DoD document that has everything on it that could disqualify you from military service. So I used that myself. I scrolled through it before I even went to MEPS and to make sure that I didn't have anything that, may be an issue. So I can link that below as well. All right. Thanks, y'all.